court will come to order.
What is going on?
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you about it in just a few minutes. Let me... Your Honor, I'd like to request that the defense be allowed to postpone Mrs. Riley's testimony. We would like to call a new witness instead.
Your request is granted, counsel.
Thank you very much.
Karen, are you ready?
The defense calls Karen Wolek.
Karen Wolek to the stand.
It's difficult to decide just which part of your fascinating testimony to cover next, but I'll do my best.
Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Martin. Mr. Callison, we do not need your editorial comments.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry. Isn't it true, Mrs. Wolek, that shortly after you arrived in Landview, you were followed here by Marco Dane?
Objection, Your Honor. The witness's relationship with Marco Dane is in the far distant past and certainly is irrelevant to the case.
It is not in the least bit irrelevant.
Now, in light of the testimony the witness has just given, Mr. Martin, I'm going to overrule your objection. Witness will answer the question.
Yes, it's true. After I came here, Marco came shortly thereafter to Landview.
Well, that's not what I asked you, Mrs. Wolek. Isn't it true that he followed you here with the express purpose of getting even with you for what you did to him in Denver?
I don't know why Marco came to Landview.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Wolek. Surely you won't try to tell this court that your arrival in Landview and the arrival of Marco Dane shortly thereafter was nothing more than a wild coincidence.
No, well, I guess it wasn't.
How shortly after Marco got here did he contact you?
A few days.
And he didn't tell you anything about why he'd followed you here?
It was a long time ago. I don't really remember.
Well, let's try to refresh your memory. Now, when Marco Dane first got here, did he remind you of the fact that it was your testimony that sent him to prison?
Yes, he did.
And would you say that he felt bitter about that?
I guess so.
Bitter enough to try to get even with you?
Object.
Objection sustained.
Mrs. Wolek, how often did you see Marco Dane in Landview, I mean?
Saw him a few times at Tony's place where I used to work.
And did he ever ask you to resume the relationship you had had with him in Colorado?
No, he did not.
In other words, he was more or less willing to forgive the past, let bygones be bygones. Is that right?
More or less.
Well, just a moment ago, you admitted that he felt quite bitter about your having sent him to prison.
Yeah, well, I guess that was when he first came here.
Oh, but after that, he mellowed and you became good friends again.
No, we did not become good friends.
Well, I'm getting just a little bit confused, Mrs. Wolek. What exactly was your relationship with Marco Dane here in Landview?
We didn't have a relationship of any kind.
I see. Now, let's go back for just a moment to something you said earlier on the stand. I am referring now to the night of December 15th, the night Marco Dane was killed. You received a telephone call from Katrina Carr, and according to your testimony, Katrina Carr said to you, something's happened to him meaning Marco Dane. Something really big. He's not going to bother anybody anymore. Have I quoted you accurately, Mrs. Wolek?
Yes, that's what Katrina Carr said.
Fine. Now, the first part of her testimony seems perfectly clear to me. Something's happened to him, something big. Obviously, she could have been alluding to Marco's death. But what did she mean when she said he's not going to bother anybody anymore?
Marco was in the habit of bothering people.
Bothering? How?
Oh, I don't know. He just say the wrong thing to them.
Uh-huh. Could you give us an example of what you mean?
Well, I can't.
Oh, come on now, Mrs. Wallace. There must be some example you can give us.
Well, he was on an ego trip. He that was in the habit of putting people down.
You like to put people down, Mrs. Wallach, or kick them when they were already down?
I really don't know what you mean.
Well, I expect you will soon enough.
Your Honor, Mr. Callison is playing some kind of little cat-and-mouse game, and quite frankly, I don't find it terribly entertaining.
And neither does the court, Mr. Martin. Mr. Callison, I cautioned you earlier not to drag your feet with this witness.
Well, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I've been awaiting some further documents which Miss Keegan has just brought in. May I have a moment?
Are you asking for a recess?
No, sir, just a moment.
Very well. You have a moment.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, isn't there anything you can do?
So far, she's okay.
But you know where Callison is heading, don't you?
Yes, I sure know where he's heading.
Well, can't you stop him?
But the only thing I can do at this point, Vicky, is just to slow him down a little bit. Unless he takes a wrong turn, he could, of course, but I certainly wouldn't hold my breath waiting for that.